The morning sun peeked through the curtains of the small, cozy apartment. The scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air as she moved around the kitchen, preparing her breakfast. She was a young woman in her late 20s, known for her bright smile and kind heart. Her days were filled with the routines of a quiet life, working at the local library, meeting friends for coffee, and occasionally visiting her parents on the weekends. She had a close-knit group of friends, including her best friend Asma, who was the same age as her, 29. Asma was always the more adventurous one, often dragging her into spontaneous trips and new experiences. Despite her love for quiet, predictable days, she cherished these moments of excitement that Asma brought into her life. It was a typical Friday evening. She had just finished dinner and was settling down on the couch with a book when there was a sudden loud knock at the door. Startled, she set the book aside and went to answer it. Before she could react, a man barged in, his face partially covered by a hood. "What? Who are you?" She stammered, fear creeping into her voice. Without a word, the man lunged at her, knocking her to the ground. The last thing she remembered was the sharp pain in her head as everything went black. She awoke to a throbbing pain in her head and the feeling of something tight around her wrists. As her vision cleared, she realized she was tied to a chair in her own living room. Panic set in, but she forced herself to stay calm and assess the situation. The man was standing a few feet away, rummaging through a bag. He turned to face her, revealing a scar that ran down the left side of his face. He grinned. "Good, you're awake," he said, pulling out a pair of electric clippers. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Please, just take whatever you want and leave." The man chuckled. "Oh, I'm not here for your possessions, I'm here for revenge." "Revenge? What are you talking about? I don't even know you," she exclaimed. The man stepped closer, the clippers buzzing to life in his hand. "You might not know me, but you certainly know my sister." "Your sister? Kareem," he interrupted. "Kareem is my name, and you're the reason my sister is in jail." Her mind raced as she tried to remember who he was talking about. Then it hit her. "Layla, you're Layla's brother." Kareem nodded. "That's right, because of your testimony, she's serving a long sentence." "She deserved it," she retorted. "She hurt a lot of people, including my friend Asma." "Still, you need to pay for what you did," Kareem snarled. "You took away her freedom, so I'm going to take something from you." With that, he grabbed a fistful of her hair and brought the clippers to her scalp. She felt the vibration against her skin and the sound of her hair being shorn off. Tears welled up in her eyes as she tried to reason with him. "Please stop. You don't have to do this," she pleaded, her voice shaking with fear and desperation. Kareem smirked, his grip tightening on the clippers. "Begging won't help you. Your head will remain bald until you learn not to mess with the wrong people." She winced as another chunk of her hair fell to the floor. "Why are you doing this to me? I was just trying to do the right thing." Kareem paused for a moment, looking her in the eye. "The right thing? You ruined my sister's life. Now I'm going to ruin yours. This is just the beginning. Your sister hurt people." "She hurt my friend Asma," she said, her voice growing stronger despite her fear. "She deserves to be in jail." Kareem's eyes narrowed. "And you deserve to pay for putting her there." He continued to shave her head, each pass of the clippers feeling like a personal attack. "Please, just let me go," she begged again, tears streaming down her face. "I won't tell anyone. Just leave me alone." Kareem laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You think I'm stupid? You'll run straight to the police." "No, I need to make sure you remember this." As the last of her hair fell away, she felt a mix of humiliation and anger. "You're a coward," she spat. "You and your sister, hurting people who can't fight back." He finished with a flourish, stepping back to admire his handiwork. "You might think you're brave now, but let's see how brave you are when you look in the mirror." She stared at him defiantly, even as she felt the sting of his words. "I will report you, Kareem. You won't get away with this." Kareem leaned in close, his breath hot against her face. "Go ahead, but remember, if you talk to the police next time, it won't just be your hair." He picked up his bag and left, the door slamming behind him. She sat there for a moment, stunned and shaking. Finally, she managed to free herself from the ropes, her hands trembling. She ran into the bathroom, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her scalp was bare, the remnants of her hair scattered on the floor. She touched her head, feeling the prickly stubble. "What am I going to do?" she whispered to herself, tears streaming down her face. Her phone buzzed in the other room. She walked back, her legs trembling, and picked it up. She dialed 911 with shaky hands, trying to steady her voice. 911, what's your emergency?" "There's been an attack. A man broke into my house, tied me up, and shaved my head," she said, her voice breaking. "We're sending officers to your location." "Are you safe now?" "Yes, he left." she replied, glancing nervously around the room. The police arrived quickly, taking her statement and collecting evidence from her apartment, for they promised to do everything they could to find Kareem. A few days later, she was called to the police station for an update. She sat across from Detective Miller, who looked at her with a mix of sympathy and determination. "We've tracked down Kareem," Miller began, shuffling some papers on his desk. "Thank God." "Is he in custody?" she asked, her heart racing. Miller sighed. "Not exactly. When we questioned him, he provided an alibi. He showed us his passport with a stamp indicating he was in Sweden at the time of the attack." Her eyes widened in shock. "What? That can't be true. He was here in my house." The police arranged a meeting between her and Kareem, hoping to resolve the conflicting accounts. She sat in a small sterile room, her heart pounding as the door opened and Kareem walked in, flanked by 2 officers. He smiled, a smug look on his face. Hello again," she glared at him, her fists clenched. "You know what you did? Why are you lying?" Kareem shrugged. "I was in Sweden. I have the stamp to prove it." "Maybe you should look into who really did this to you." "You're a liar," she said, her voice shaking with anger. "You came into my house, tied me up, and shaved my head. Why are you doing this?" Kareem leaned back in his chair, his expression calm. "Why would I do that? I have no reason to hurt you. I was enjoying my time in Sweden." She turned to Detective Miller. "You can't believe him. There must be some mistake." Miller nodded. "We're still investigating. There are discrepancies in his story that we need to look into." The police continued their investigation, focusing on the details of Kareem's alibi. They discovered that the stamp on his passport, while official, could have been manipulated. Further questioning of witnesses and travel records revealed inconsistencies in Kareem's story.